How hard is it to be the mirror? That's from Johnny. Oh, watch out. Whoops. Am I ruining this? Am I ruining it?
I think it's gotta go under, not over. Oh, I took its little hat off. I don't know how to get it back on. There we go.
Thank you very much. All right, good morning, everyone. We'll get started. What a great way to start the morning, by the way. Okay, welcome to the Vancouver City Council meeting of Tuesday, December the 10th, 2024. Wow, it's December. This council meeting is being convened in person and by electronic means as authorized under Part 14 of the Procedure Bylaw. City of Vancouver electronic meetings. As such, council members and the public may participate in person or by electronic means. Do we have anyone participating electronically this morning? No. Okay. Video of council members speaking, presentations, and vote results will be projected on the live stream when available. In case of an emergency, I'd like to direct your attention to the two exits beyond the glass doors. For you literally just go through the glass doors and you hang a left past the post and take the stairs. And if for whatever reason that exit is obstructed, there are four exits here. And once again, we have Chief Fry. He will help us if any of us are confused. Please don't use the elevator. And if you require accessibility assistance, please remain in your location and wait for one of our security team members to guide you to a safe location. I also want to highlight the fact that we do have a defibrillator at the end of the hallway. So if you feel like you need it, please let us know. I also want to acknowledge that we are hosting today's council meeting on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, the Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. And I do want to thank them for their generosity and their hospitality and the love and care they show this land that we get to live, work, and play on. And I really do believe it's incumbent upon all of us to unlearn what we've learned in the past, learn the true history as to what's happened on these lands. And if we do that, we're going to build an incredibly bright future full of love and prosperity for everyone. I also want to acknowledge our incredible team at the City of Vancouver, and that spans so many different departments here at City Hall: Vancouver Fire and Rescue Services, VPD, ACCS, engineering, you name it, parks. We've had the honor of working side by side, our team, for the last couple of years, and I can tell you, our teammates are absolutely amazing. They choose to be here. They work incredibly hard, and they really, care about our city. And we're incredibly lucky that our team chooses to show up every single day and be part of the City of Vancouver, and couldn't be more thankful. So with that, can we please get roll call?
Mayor Sim in the chair. Councillor Carr. Councillor Kirby-Young.
Present.
Councillor Dominato is on medical leave all day. Councillor Bly. Councillor Boyle is on leave of absence for personal reasons all day. Councillor Fry. Councillor Montague. Councillor Klassen.
Present.
Councillor Meisner. And Councillor Joe.
Present.
You have quorum, Mayor Sim.
Great. Thank you very much. So the plan for today, any comments on agenda items can be sent to council using the web form on the city's website. The link to that form will be posted on X at Van City Clerk. I also want to note the City of Vancouver's long-standing commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion, including the utmost respect for all genders. I do remind council that when we're addressing speakers and the city's team members, we will avoid using gendered honorifics and instead will refer to the person by first and last name, role, or title. So now today we have a lot on the docket. 3 administrative items: in-camera motion, adoption of minutes and matters adopted on consent. 2 communications, 10 reports including questions, debate, and decision on the 2025 budget, and 7 referral reports. 44 bylaws, 4 administrative motions, notice of council member motions, new business, and inquiries and other matters. So the plan for today, We're going to break at noon for lunch, followed by the in-camera meeting. Return at 3 p.m. to continue to deal with the remainder of the agenda. Adjourn by 5 p.m. as we do have a public hearing at 6 p.m. If we do recess, the reconvene date is Thursday, December the 12th, 2024 at 6 p.m. So in camera, council is required to meet in camera later this week. The reasons and authority under the Vancouver Charter are listed in the agenda. Would someone like to move a motion? Thank you, Councillor Klassen. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Kirby-Young. All those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great, the motion carries unanimously. Minutes. Minutes one are from the Mayor's Budget Task Force Implementation Oversight Committee on November the 15th, 2024. Are there any corrections to the minutes? No. Councillor Kirby-Young, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Carr, thank you. All those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great, the motion carries unanimously. Minutes two are from the council meeting on November the 26th, 2024. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Would someone like to move? Councillor Joe, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Meisner, thank you. All those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great, the motion carries unanimously. Minutes three are from the public hearing on November the 26th, 2024. Are there any corrections? Great, thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Montague. All those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great, the motion carries unanimously. Minutes four from the council meeting following the Standing Committee on Policy and Strategic Priorities on November the 27th, 2024. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Sorry, yep, and Councillor Meisner moved the last motion as well, if that's what you're looking for. Thank you. So Councillor Meisner, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Montague. All those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great, the motion carries unanimously. Minutes five are from the Special Council 2025 budget meeting on December the 3rd, 2024. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Great. Councillor Kirby-Young, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Klassen. All those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great, the motion carries unanimously. Okay, matters adopted on consent. Okay, so now council will now consider matters adopted on consent. We have communications 1 and 2, reports 2 through 5, and referral reports 1 through 7 on the consent agenda for council's consideration. So we will hold reports 1A through 1F for debate and decision. Council may adopt the recommendations for communications 1 and 2, reports 2 through 5, and referral reports 1 through 7 on consent. Does any member wish to hold any of these items for debate or questions to team members? And I see no one in the queue. Okay. Going. Great. Before we consider the consent agenda, if anyone believes they have a conflict of interest, now is the time to declare it. Does anyone have a conflict to disclose? Okay, so we have communications 1 and 2, reports 2 through 5, and referral reports 1 through 7 on the for consent approval. Would someone like to move adoption of the recommendations before council contained in the communications and the reports? Councillor Klassen, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Kirby-Young. All those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great, the motion carries unanimously. So the following has been or have been approved on consent. Okay, communication number 1, change to council meeting schedule. Communication number 2, correction to administrative error, June the 20th, 2024, Auditor General Committee meeting. Report number 2, 2025 land assessment averaging notice to BC Assessment Authority. Report number 3, selection of and terms for social housing operator at 5718 Choi Yin Crescent. Report number 4, 2511 Carolina Street, closure of portions of street to accommodate heritage building encroachments. And report number 5, Community Housing Incentive Program Grant 3-Point Housing Society. Referral report number 1, rezoning 2520 through 2544 West 16th Avenue and 3223 Larch Street. Referral report number 2, CD-1 rezoning 1245 through 1265 West 10th Avenue. Report number 3, rezoning 626 West 32nd Avenue. Referral report number 4, rezoning 5889 through 5925 Dunbar Street. Referral report number 5, miscellaneous amendments concerning various CD-1 bylaws and Schedule E of the zoning and development bylaw. Report number 6, CD-1 rezoning 1190 West 10th Avenue, and referral report number 7, CD-1 rezoning 1434 through 1456 West 8th Avenue. All right. Okay. So, reports. The first report we're going to be covering is report number 1, 2025 capital and operating budget. Now, at the special council meeting on December the 3rd, 2024, council received a presentation and heard from speakers on the 2025 capital and operating budget. There will not be any additional presentations at this meeting for reports 1A through 1F. Council will now consider the reports in the order they are listed on the agenda for the 2025 capital and operating budget. So the first report is 1A, 2025 engineering fees. Before we begin this agenda item, if anyone believes that they have a conflict of interest, now is the time to declare it. Does anyone have a conflict of interest to disclose? All right. Seeing no one in the queue on that one, council members, you have up to 5 minutes to ask questions of team members. Are there any questions? All right, seeing none, would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Joe, thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Klassen. Council members, is there any discussion? All right. I'm now going to call the vote. Clerk, can you please take us to the voting screen? And council, please register your vote. Great. And 1A passes unanimously. So that completes report 1A. The next report is 1B, 2025 Annual Review of Water Rates and Water Work Bylaw Amendments. Now, before we begin this agenda item, is if anyone believes that they have a conflict of interest, now is the time to disclose it or declare it. Does anyone have a conflict of interest to disclose? All right, seeing no one in the queue, council members, you have up to 5 minutes to ask questions of team members. Are there any questions? Seeing none, would someone like to move a motion? Great. Councillor Kirby-Young, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Joe. Thank you. Council, is there any discussion? Seeing no one in the queue, we're now going to call 1B to a vote. Great. And that passes unanimously as well. So that completes report 1B. 1C, the 2025 Annual Review of Sewer Rates, Sewer and Water Course Bylaw. Before we begin this agenda item, if anyone believes that they have a conflict of interest, now is the time to declare it. Does anyone have a conflict to disclose? All right. Seeing no one in the queue, council members, you have up to 5 minutes to ask questions of team members. Are there any questions? Seeing none, so would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Montague, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Meisner, thank you. Council, is there any discussion? Seeing no one in the queue, let's vote on this. Great. And that passes unanimously as well. That completes report 1C. 1D, the 2025 solid waste utility fees and bylaw changes. Now, before we begin this agenda item, if anyone believes that they have a conflict of interest, now is the time to declare it. And does anyone have a conflict to declare? Seeing no one in the queue, council members, you have up to 5 minutes to ask questions of team members. Are there any questions? Seeing no one in the queue, would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Montague, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Meisner. Is there any discussion? All right, well, let's put this one to a vote as well. Great, and that passes unanimously as well. So that completes report 1D. 1E, the 2025 Falls Creek Neighborhood Energy Utility Customer Rates. Before we begin this agenda item, if someone believes that they have a conflict of interest, now is the time to declare it. Does anyone wish to disclose a conflict? Seeing no one in the queue, council, you have up to 5 minutes to ask questions of team members. Are there any questions? Seeing no one in the queue, would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Montague, seconded by Councillor Klassen. Council, is there any discussion? Seeing none, why don't we vote on this one as well? Great, and that passes unanimously. So that completes report 1E. All right, so let's go to 1F, the 2025 draft operating and capital budget. Now, before we begin this agenda item, if anyone believes they have a conflict of interest, now is the time to declare it. Does anyone have a conflict to disclose? Okay, so council members, you have up to 5 minutes to ask questions of team members. Are there any questions? And yes, Councillor Carr.
Yes, Mayor, I did circulate an amendment to this set of recommendations. Just make sure that you've got it and.
Yeah.
Point of procedure, Mayor.
Yep, go ahead.
I don't think we can get into amendments if it hasn't been moved and seconded yet. And was there an intention to do any further questions or just to jump right into debate and decision?
Well, I think we have to give everyone the opportunity to ask questions. So,
I'm fine to hold back on that.
okay.
Yep, I'll put myself back on the list. I just didn't see anybody on the list, so.
Okay.
I just wanted to be clear, and then we have to move and second first before we go to amendments, right?
Okay.
Thanks.
Just give me 1 sec here. Okay, so hold that thought, Councillor Carr. Okay, Councillor Kirby-Young, you're good now. Thank you. So, council, are there any questions to team members? Okay, Councillor Carr, can we please get you back on the queue? Oh, yeah, sorry. Still working on this procedure thing. Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Klassen, seconded by Councillor Kirby-Young. Council members, is there any discussion? And so on. Great. Councillor Carr.
Yes. Thanks very much, Mayor. And councillors, I did, or Mayor and councillors, I did circulate an amendment this morning that I have gone through with staff. So first of all, gone through in terms of the wording to make sure that the wording is appropriate. But let me just start by saying that I was very appreciative of staff's pulling together of the analysis in our budget of the amounts that we are spending on both mitigating and adapting to and repairing damage from climate change. And the amounts end up being $79.6 million in this budget, 51.6 in our million in our capital budget, 28 million in our operating budget. So the issue for me is we are facing the need to respond to the climate crisis. It is incumbent upon us for the health and safety of the people of the city and for our economy, for the infrastructure that we have in our city. So should that burden land on taxpayers, or should we be seeking other ways to potentially mitigate the impact of those needed expenditures in terms of seeking other kinds of means to secure the funds needed to keep the impact on taxpayers lower?
Sorry, Councillor Carr, I'm just going to pause your clock. Can we move to an amendment queue? And I actually haven't seen them. For whatever reason, I don't have the amendment.
I did circulate it the morning. It was to you specifically, and then all other councillors.
You might be using
Prior?
my public email and not my,
Oh,
no.
well, sorry if that.
No,
was
that's
the
okay.
case.
I just want to make sure we.
But then
give
I
the
just
time and attention
circulated it
it's due.
now, just.
So I'm going to move you to the amendment queue. Start your timer. Go ahead, Councillor Carr. Sorry to interrupt.
Not a problem. Okay. So just the context really is, I mean, I've stated to all of you in fact, as recently as our last set of meetings about the growing impact of the climate, the crisis. In the last 4 days, scientists have reported some really alarming statistics about how fast the Atlantic sea ice is melting at an unprecedented rate. It's blowing them away. The predictions are that this couldn't even happen by any estimation in one every 7.5 million years is what they're saying. But it's happening now in terms of the rate. So we are facing the expectation of having to look at sea level rise, the costs of responding to that, the costs of heat, the heat dome, extreme events, whether they be atmospheric rivers or windstorms. I mean, we had our first cyclone here on the coast this year. The new news is that the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, renowned scientists from around the world who only operate by consensus, are saying that we may be looking at a 3-degree warming scenario, not the 1.5 that had been earlier projected by the IPCC. So my motion simply asks staff to explore the full range of options for our city to recover costs related to our city having to spend increasing amounts of money to mitigate, adapt to, and repair climate change, including the $79.6 million in this report. I know they go out and seek funds, but there could be other avenues. And I'm expecting that you would, instead of receiving that information from me, would be, very amenable to receiving the information from staff with staff's analysis on how you can mitigate the costs. So as I say, I've run this amendment by staff in terms of wording. It's fine by them. I think you need to think about, do you want to find a way to ease the tax burden on the citizens of the city, or do you want to explore? And it's a report back. You can do with that information as you like, but at least get the information and base your decision on that information.
Thank you. Can we get a seconder? Great, thank you. Councillor Meisner.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Question through you to staff, perhaps city manager, if I may. Just wondering if you have a sense of how much time it would take to report back on this.
Through the chair, not a specific kind of estimate. I don't think it would involve a huge amount of time between our staff and sustainability and our legal team. We should be able to put together a response for council within a reasonable amount of effort.
Okay. And are you aware of any other cities that have been successful in legal action to recover costs lost to climate change?
I'm not personally, no.
Okay. Okay, thank you. How do you read other options? I see there's the legal piece and then it says and other options. I'm just curious what staff's interpretation of that is.
Again, seeing the motion now through the chair, that could include, applications for grant funding to senior governments or other agencies, things like that I would expect would fall in the other options category.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. That's it for me.
Great, thank you very much. Councillor Kirby-Young.
Yeah, thanks. I think Councillor Carr and I share similar concerns with respects to the ongoing impacts of climate. And I think as this amendment identifies, we're certainly investing in responding to the impacts of that. I think we're also proactively building more resilient infrastructure as we move forward in terms of adaptation versus mitigation. I think what we're talking about essentially here is, without having the words in it, is the Sue Big Oil initiative. And so this is, I can't recall, our third or fourth kick at the can around this, I think, where it was originally that and again, I'm remembering, but it was sort of round numbers. It was a few $1,000,000 for the city initially. It was going to be an expensive proposition. And then it was sort of downgraded to, I think second attempt was $1 per resident. So we're in the notion of, or the area of, 670,000, whatever, based on population at the time. Then we're down to a penny per resident. And now we've got kind of more of a broad piece here around exploring it. I've been thinking about all the news this week and the success that the province has had with respects to their initiative around coming together to hold the opioid production companies accountable. And it's good to see that leadership there. I think that this is fundamentally a bit different because, in my view, we're all complicit in continuing to use these products. And so, I have my iPhone, right? We're all clothed today. A lot of our city fleets and vehicles, as we're moving towards electrifying, but we haven't been able to yet, are using and driving oil. A number of our civic facilities, it becomes, I think, harder to argue successfully when you're knowingly continuing to use the product that you essentially want to claim sort of legal damages against. And to my knowledge, the initiative has been unsuccessful in getting certified or actually bringing this forward to date. There have been a few individual municipalities that have taken it on, but they haven't had success in banding people together, probably for a lot of the reasons that I'm citing here. With respect to the answer to Councillor Meisner's question around pursuing grants and otherwise, I'm super confident that our staff do that already. We see a lot of that coming forward in grants, whether it's through FCM's Sustainable Communities Fund, through some of the UBCM work, some of the other government partnerships, certainly. And I think we've been pretty successful as we've done a lot of our sewer work in terms of adding green infrastructure into gray. And so there's been, I think, a lot of leadership in that area. So I think when we're having a conversation around budget and working efficiently with our resources, it may not take a lot of time, but if I do believe as a councillor that we're pursuing a lot of the avenues to secure some of this funding to do the work, and I do believe that, I don't think that we need to have staff come back and tell us what they've already told us about that work that they are doing. I'd rather that they just do it. So those are my comments. Thanks.
Great, thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Joe.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. So I'd like to ask a question through you to the city manager about this particular amendment. So just looking at the language of this amendment, I'm still not very clear. It says about the legal and other options. And also there's something about the results of the research and evaluation. So it looks to me really broad, this amendment. So my question to the city manager is, what do you envision the work and the scope will be if this amendment is passed?
Thanks, Chair. I think there's a discrete question around legal recourse, which our legal team would be able to address. I believe at least providing an initial assessment to council, that's a relatively straightforward question, I would suggest. And I think in terms of the other options, as I mentioned, that's likely to entail applications for funding from other agencies. I think that's at this stage, subject to further conversation with our team, that would be what I would see as the other component of the motion. There may be other elements here that I'm just not kind of thinking of right now. So, we'd have to get back with a more defined scope for council, but those would be the two elements that I would see at this point.
Okay, so the amendment also says the results of research and evaluation. What exactly the research and evaluation we're talking about here?
It would be in relation to those two, essentially two options that I just spoke of. One would be legal recourse, so participation in lawsuits, et cetera, and the other would be other opportunities for the city to obtain external funding for the types of expenses that are contemplated here. So when I read research, that's the research that we would do. I don't know that it involves, at this stage, would involve a huge amount of external research. I think a lot of this information is already held within the staff, so it may just be some detail that we would need to follow up on. But I don't see this as an extensive research project.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Carr?
Yeah, just to respond to some of the points. First of all, there are other options, and in fact, it was in the tabling of this a simple motion around Sue Big Oil last year. Councillor Joe actually approached me after that to say, well, maybe there could be fundraising from the public. So that is an option that the city manager did not mention. I did pursue some of that with staff, and it was a bit more complicated to put forward a motion that might be a vehicle for us to be able to receive public funds for that. But there could be, you know, repair the aquatic center and naming rights along with that repair. That repair is obviously a climate change cost, right, or related cost. So that is something not that wasn't clearly, I think, understood. It's also really important for you to know, yes, I think that an evaluation of our staff of the legal options around Sue Big Oil is something you should consider as a council. And in case you're not aware, already 9 municipalities in British Columbia have pledged money towards the Sue Big Oil campaign. And what happens when they pledge it is that money stays in a reserve and is transferred to whatever city or cities take on the joint action suit. So there would not be an extra cost. The money would be accumulated by the other municipalities. The real thing you should also get staff to identify for you is the question of this. It is a class action lawsuit, and all municipalities in BC would be able to benefit if there was a win in terms of receiving compensation, except potentially Vancouver, because our Vancouver charter differentiates us from the class action of municipalities under the BC Municipal Act. So I think I've had that raised with me as a question. You should hear the answer to that too, about the risk if there is a class action lawsuit. And there will be, because already in the United States, there are 70 states and cities, including Chicago, San Francisco, New York, Honolulu, and states like California, New Jersey, et cetera, that are engaged in lawsuits. So it's going to happen. Let's get our money back so that our taxpayers can be relieved of the burden
I'm
they've
sorry,
had to pay.
we're at time.
Thank you.
Councillor Fry?
Yeah, only to add that, I mean, I appreciate that a few councillors have evoked the sort of notion of the Sue Big Oil suit and stuff. And I just want to remind everybody that while I actually agree that that is a thoughtful consideration, and certainly having our staff report back as to the feasibility, legal options could include also everything from petitioning senior levels of government to you know, like whatever's within our legal ability through the Vancouver Charter, et cetera. Because, you know, we do, I think, collectively recognize that there are impacts for climate change and the cost on our infrastructure, the cost on our budget. So I think asking staff to look at what opportunities they are and have staff come back and say, well, you know, suing Big Oil may be a part of that, or maybe it's not. But I think that we are at a really important inflection point where it's like, not considering the impact of climate change on our bottom line would be irresponsible. And I think this is a pretty easy ask for that kind of consideration to look at what options we have available to try and offset some of those costs on our budget.
Thank you. Councillor Meisner?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I think it's great that we have this information about the cost of the climate impacts on our city in our budget, and we can parse that out and have those costs be known. So this, I understand some of my fellow councillors' concerns about kind of the unknowns around this amendment, but to me, it's pretty open-ended in the way that it is really a report back on options. And as we heard from the city manager, he doesn't believe that there'll be a lot of work involved on reporting back, and that could be done fairly quickly. So given this almost $80 million cost of responding to climate change in our operating budget, I am going to support getting a report back from staff to see what options we have, and we can go from there. It doesn't mean we have to pursue it, but we may want to, so why not get the information? So I'm going to support it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Joe.
Yeah, so again, I have some questions through you, Mayor, to the city manager. I think, Paul, you mentioned that this work does not take too much time from staff. So there's no timeline in this amendment. So what is your timeline?
Through the chair, yeah, without talking with staff, I wouldn't want to kind of promise a specific timeline. I don't think this would take, months and months. So we could probably get back to council with at least a preliminary assessment in the first quarter of next year.
Okay, so first quarter next year. So would that slow down other priorities this council is doing right now?
I mean, there's obviously, our staff are all fully occupied.
Yeah.
And again, I think we'll scale the work to provide council with a general response to this that may prompt other questions or more detailed analysis that council is looking for. So no, that time would allow us to work this into other demands.
Okay, so obviously our team is working on some other very important climate change initiative. So what initiative it will be slowed down because of this amendment?
Through the chair, yeah, again, I can't answer that, council, without speaking to the staff involved to understand specific impacts on work plans. Again, at this stage, my expectation is that this will not involve a significant amount of incremental work by staff. If that were the case, we could come back and get further direction from staff. But I do believe we'd be in a position to provide a general kind of preliminary answer to this within the next quarter without meaningfully interrupting other work.
Okay, thanks, Paul.
Thank you very much. Councillor Klassen.
Thanks very much, Chair. This some great conversations here today. The COP conferences have put forward a lot of really important ideas in response to climate change. And climate change is a serious matter. It is an existential threat. It is something most definitely requires action. But with all the world leaders assembling annually to look at it, none of them are actually proposing that there is going to be suing oil and gas companies. The size of these companies and the scale of these companies are on the order of several $billion, probably close to $1 trillion, with legal teams that I can only blanch at. I would sort of suggest that this would be such a faint effort, even with the combined contributions of different local governments. It really is not going to be able to achieve anything, and it would probably get tied up in the courts for decades. I really want us to lean in onto positive actions that can help us address climate change. But on an issue like this, where we've come back over and over again with putting it into a different language and different approaches, fundamentally this still really looks and feels like the original Sue Big Oil campaigns that have not resulted in any fundamental change in how things work. I know that we have limited time and resources for our staff on a number of issues. I'll go through in my remarks about the budget on how many things we are being able to get done right now. But again, I think this is well intended, but not something that I think that the city can affect a great amount of change. And notwithstanding, it might take a certain amount of time within one of our departments. I know that there are an enormous number of priorities that we're all working on right now, and so I will not be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Fry.
I mean, again, not to get too hung up on the lawsuit piece, because I think that this opens a lot more opportunities. But I will also just mention, when it comes to tilting at windmills, I mean, I think a lot of people didn't think that the province of British Columbia would be successful in a lawsuit against Big Pharma. Yet, here we are. And I will note that even the Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, has committed to pursuing a lawsuit with Big Pharma. So I think that on the subject of lawsuits against big corporations and industries, that is not in the realm of impossibility. Certainly we saw the same with tobacco. So I wouldn't dismiss it outright as tilting at windmills necessarily, but I will say that, again, this amendment as proposed really leaves the door open for staff to report back as to the viability of a lawsuit against big oil or maybe a different legal option that might include petitioning senior levels of government for some kind of compensation package or what have you. But I think, let's have staff do that work. I don't think, as the city manager alluded, it's a lot of extra work. And I think it's thoughtful due diligence when we are contemplating climate-related expenses in the tens of hundreds of millions of dollars for the city. That's all.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clausen.
I just wanted to be clear on the big pharma reference. The companies that are involved there has been a precedent set already. Lawsuits have happened and there have been successful cases, but these companies have essentially had to shut down, go into bankruptcy. We're not seeing the same kind of conditions for companies in the oil and gas industry, which again, as Councillor Kirby-Young points out, produces a range of products that we generally have to use every day. I think the big pharma example is a bit of a red herring for us right now. It is having direct impact in terms of, has had direct impact in terms of lives lost in our society right now, and it's a very clear target. And I'm glad the province is having some success moving forward with their case, but there's really no sort of apples to apples comparison that can be made on this one. And again, I would just very much like for us to continue to concentrate on our advocacy and also the work that we're doing here on staff. And if there seems to be a light at the end of the tunnel with regards to local governments reaping some kind of reward from oil and gas, then that's the time for us to have that kind of conversation. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clausen. Seeing no one else in the amendment queue, why don't we put Councillor Carr's amendment to a vote? All right, and the amendment fails with myself, Councillor Kirby-Young, Councillor Montague, Councillor Clausen, and Councillor Joe in opposition. Okay, so going back to the main queue, and I guess I have to see the chair. Councillor Fry, you have the chair.
Yeah, over to you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. I'd like to move an amendment, which I circulated. Thank you very much. Okay. So like I'd love to, oh,
Sorry, clerks, are we on an amendment queue?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
sorry. We're good to go? Great, thank you. So I do want to start off by thanking our entire team for the amazing work they've done on this for the entire year. This doesn't just appear 2 weeks before this date. This has been a year-long process. And so I want to say thank you. And I also want to take this opportunity to support our city's priorities by moving a 3-part amendment. The first part of this amendment addresses essential unfunded public safety asks from the Vancouver Police Department, such as the wide rollout of the body-worn camera program, a new risk management position to help meet the Auditor General's recommendations, and technology to help investigators like rapid DNA analysis so that our officers can support victims of sexual assault and solve more crimes. We will also ensure that our budget adjustment process reconciles the total cost of protest pressures at the end of next year. This is what the city has done over the last 2 years, since we have regularly seen the end of year protest costs much higher than what was budgeted for. To be clear, we will pay for the amount spent by the VPD on protests and demonstrations. It's the right thing to do. They keep our community safe. But this is also a reminder of the price that Vancouver pays for the vast majority of the province's protests. We are a core city. Most of the protests happen in front of the art gallery or in front of Jack Pool Plaza. The second part of the amendment allocates $1 million allocates 1 million of our ACCS social policy grants budget to Mission Possible's Project Hope, which provides low barrier employment opportunities by operating microcleaning on the downtown east side. The final part of my amendment is moving additional cost savings identified by our team that are not included in the budget. Following the direction of the Mayor's Budget Task Force and the hard work to streamline our processes, our team has found additional savings. You know, with these 3 amendments, I can say that we are all incredibly appreciative of everyone who's worked on this budget. It was a really heavy lift. There was a lot of thought, love, and care that went into it. And through your hard work and care, we're happy to project that this, or 2025's property tax increase will be kept at 2.9% plus a 1% charge for infrastructure renewal. So once again, through your hard work, we're keeping the property tax increase at 2.9%, which is basically inflation. So well done, and thank you for all of your hard work.
Great. Councillor Klassen.
Thanks very much. Clerk, I just
Sorry, can
noticed
we
my
reset the
clock is
timer or
already at 3:35. I'm not sure. I won't be speaking long, but I just wanted to note that. Thanks very much, Mayor. I will be supporting this. I'm actually just have to really commend our staff for the process that we've really undertaken with the 2025 budget. It began in a place with a proposed number that was in excess of 7%. Of course, council voted to make sure that that was capped at 5.5% during last summer, and clearly there's been a lot of work that's happened in partnership with the Vancouver Police Department, city staff, the park board, and to try and really be able to find those savings so we can really deliver on the affordability mandate that I think the Vancouverites are expecting us. Coming in at 3.9%, from my scan, it would probably be one of the lowest property tax increases in Metro Vancouver this year. And but yet here we are being able to provide the equivalent amount of services and retaining our workforce. I think those are 2 key priorities that we're set about. And so I'm very supportive of taking this path, and will be very interested in hearing what from other fellow councillors have to say about this. But I would say good work on our staff team for working as hard as you have and putting your mind to, and also the work of the Budget Task Force, which I think overrides a lot of our focus on budgeting right now. Thanks very much.
Councillor Kirby-Young.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, this is exciting, and I really appreciate the mayor bringing it forward. It makes me think about how far we've come in a short period of time. We had some digging out to do, I'll be honest, in terms of, I think, kind of recalibrating where investments were going in the city of Vancouver. We've no surprise that we're at the 2-year or halfway mark of this term. In that period of time, we have fully funded and supported both of our public safety services, Vancouver Fire and Rescue and the Vancouver Police Department. We have invested in innovative models and taken a leap of faith on doing what we thought was right in terms of providing a funding envelope to Vancouver Coastal Health, so that we could work in partnership with the VPD on responding to a lot of unprecedented amount of calls and pressures on the police department and in the city and our residents from calls that were coming from mental health services. That is paying off. It's very exciting to see the early stats on that work from the Operations Command Center, and to see Vancouver Coastal Health reporting that out, including the first dedicated Indigenous mental health response unit. I'm super hopeful that that is going to be a model that we're going to see embraced by the province across the country. We have managed to invest and be the first fire department in North America, thanks to the incredible work of the union and their leadership, as well as our city team, to provide them with PFAS-free gear, because I don't think that cost is a factor when you're looking at taking care of your frontline people who are taking care of us. We're seeing streamlining on the business front. Business licenses are faster. We've got a new business economy office. We're seeing a lot of investment in neighborhoods and vibrancy in Gastown and Chinatown. And really, I think lifting up positively the economic piece in the city of Vancouver. So I can name some other things, but I feel like we're on the right trajectory. At the end of May, I think it was May 29th, when we received the budget outlook from staff, it was around 7%. Then we had a motion from the mayor, be no more than 5.5. And we've had the mayor's budget task force and a lot of the work that has been shown there around better, more financial opportunities and better managing the city's considerable assets, like the property endowment fund for stronger returns, and looking at delivering better services more effectively. It's not just about cost efficiency, it's about doing it better. So that's the goal, is really that the stakeholders feel that they are getting the service that they need from the City of Vancouver in an effective way. And at the same time, we're being fiscally responsible in how we deliver it. So I'm super grateful to the city manager for his leadership, and all of the staff teams for really working through this. And it is, this is my 6th year on council. It's always felt like it's been a trade-off and something had to go. And I feel here like we're keeping our different departments and frontline services that the citizens of Vancouver value whole. We're keeping them whole, whether it's, libraries, parks, all those things that people love and value. And as I mentioned earlier, public safety and investing in small business and economy. So to get down to 2.9%, when I think right now it's showing that the latest inflation index for 12 months is pretty much coming in at almost at 2.7. The 1% infrastructure renewal is incredibly exciting. We have a huge infrastructure gap, and we need to close that. And it's really important that we have dedicated and ongoing funding towards that. So I couldn't be actually more excited about this budget. Usually we're pretty tired by this time of the year, and it's a bit of a haul to get through it. And I think, and I'm speaking super honestly, but it feels like everything is coming together, and we're now going in the right direction. And so I think this is a good path that this puts us on. I'm looking forward to seeing some of the additional innovation that comes forward from some of our different teams, and some of the opportunities from the Mayor's Budget Task Force. And I'm wholeheartedly happy to support this. Thank you.
Councillor Meisner.
Yeah, thanks very much. Much like Councillor Kirby-Young, I think this is great news. We did face some strong cost pressures in previous years when this council came aboard. There's many reasons for that, but predominantly high inflation, increasing costs for materials and labor, as well as many collective agreements that we successfully worked through with staff. So I think we have a lot to be proud of, and I'm very happy to support the mayor's amendment to bring this year's property tax increase down to 3.9%, which includes 1% for infrastructure renewal. So really 2.9% plus that 1%. That's very important for infrastructure renewal. We all know that we have major challenges around that in our city, and we're working hard to address those citywide. So thank you to staff for all of your hard work to find additional savings, as well as the Mayor's Budget Task Force, which I serve on with Councillor Joe and Councillor Dominato, supported by the hard work of city staff. And I've been very impressed by the innovative thinking and hard work that staff have done to get us to this number, while ensuring that our city services are well funded and delivering quality services that Vancouverites expect. Whether that's our fully funded police service, which, as Councillor Kirby-Young mentioned, is showing great results in terms of driving down crime rates in our city, our fire and rescue service, our city-funded mental health workers who are already out there making a difference, helping people with mental health challenges in our community. More investments in neighborhoods like Chinatown and Gastown. We've seen a lot of success with uplifting Chinatown in terms of bringing people back to the neighborhood, and we're looking to expand that to other communities in 2025, and I'm really excited about that. as well as increasing the amount of funding for things like litter pickup and street cleaning and road repairs, and the list goes on. So I think this is such a good news budget, and I'm really glad we were able to get to this point, and I'm looking forward to supporting it. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Meiser. Councillor Zhou.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So I also would like to speak to support this amendment. So it is so excited to see this amendment, also the number of 2.9% plus 1% move forward in this amendment. I think we talked to different peoples in the community in the city of Vancouver. I think affordability is the biggest challenge every family is facing every day. So this particular amendment and the number at the end really shows our commitment to work for the residents of the city to make sure that their affordability condition will be improved in the next year, 2025. And also about inflation. So, I know the city's overall inflation is about 2.7%, but I want to highlight that. I think I asked this question many times in this council chamber. The cost running the city is actually even higher, if I remember correctly, because of the collective agreement, everything. The cost running city of Vancouver is 7%. So this 2.9% plus 1% is way lower than the cost of running the city. So this is a really, really promising direction we are going. And the other thing I want to highlight is the trend. I think the first year of this council, 10.7% for whatever reason, because of the previous issue, and also the 7.5% the last year, and this year is 2.9% plus 1%. So this number, the trend, is showing will giving the residents of the city more hope, and also I want to highlight this number is achieved without cutting any services, but we're adding more services to public safety and to the art and culture, to any other portfolio as well. So very exciting to see that. And also, I'm also very exciting to see the additional revenue, additional expense for the body-worn camera. I think this is really essential to providing critical services, public safety to our city, and also it's a game changer for transparency and accountability for the Vancouver Police Department, as well as building the trust for the public. So I'm really excited to see that moving forward, and also I'm going to continue to work with the provincial government to advocate to make sure that they will share the cost for the sake of residents of the city. Yeah, also at the end, I really appreciate the mayor's budget task force, which I sit on last year, and also the mayor's budget task force implementation oversight committee, which I also sit on this year. That committee to make sure that all the 17 recommendations will be implemented, and really appreciate all the work happened there. At the end, really appreciate all the city staff, also city manager, deputy city manager. Thank you for everything you have done for the residents of the city, and I'm really optimistic for the direction we are moving in this city. Thanks, Mayor. That's all my comments. Oh, thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Carr.
Yeah, thank you. Just through you, Chair, if I could ask a few questions of staff on this, or points of information. Hello, Chair.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Staff, if I remember correctly, we had looked at the possibility in the preparation for this budget of cost savings in the order of 3.9%. And so they're repeated again here. But meanwhile, there's an additional amount to this budget being added in, 3.6 million in the first parts of this amendment that add up to 3.6 million in new spending. So I am not sure if the math works out that it's still at 3.9% despite the new spending.
Yes, we have reviewed, and this it does result in 3.9%. I think the difference is that to note in portion A, there is 1.31 million, which is funded from reserves, and so because that is one-time funding related to the body-worn cameras, and so that is the difference essentially. So that doesn't need to be funded through tax because the source is reserve.
Okay. Another point of information. in the past, it's been very clear that, that we have had to vote for the police budget as it's been presented to us. And we, one year didn't, and it came back with the actual direction that we had to change the vote that we had made to reject that and had to put the money in the budget. With these changes that are in the first part of the mayor's amendment that are increasing by 2.6 or so million dollars, the police budget. Are those additional to what the police budget has forwarded? So are we in the same legal position where we have to vote for this, or is there an option to not vote for this because it's not what the police budget originally was presented to us?
So under the Police Act, council has the ability to vote on the budget approved by the board and submitted to council. Looking at this amendment here, it includes items that have been supported by the board, but not all items. And so council can consider that, and then based on the outcome of council's decision, the police board will then have the option for any item that they approved, which was not approved by council, to determine whether they wish to seek appeal through the province under the Police Act.
Got it. So maybe, thank you very much. Chair, if I can ask another point of
Yep.
information to the mover of the amendment. So which of the points A through G are ones that have been approved by the police board and thus included in the budget, which we legally seems like we have to support, and which ones aren't?
Counselor, I'd have to get back to, you know, it's, I'd have to compare,
Right.
you know, what was talked about at the police board. But full disclosure, I did recuse myself from that vote as well because, you know,
Right.
technically I would be in a conflict of interest
Right.
on
Right.
that. So this, you know, from, you know, a 30,000 foot level, what we're proposing here is what we believe, you know, can support our members at VPD, which we're 100% committed to.
Right.
We have
I understand, thank you. I understand that this is your proposal. I just need clarity on what of this is legally challengeable by the police board if we don't vote for it. Actually, Chair, if I could call for a recess, so perhaps staff can talk over a response to that question. It's an important one for me, having gone through where we had to reverse our decision after legally we were told we couldn't vote against something. So if we could have, like, I don't know how much time is needed, 10
5-minute
minutes, 10
recess?
minutes?
Sure. Move for a 5-minute recess. All in
Is
favor?
5 enough time for staff to, 5 or 10? It doesn't matter to, 10 minutes.
10? Okay.
Great, thank you, I appreciate that.
All in favor? Okay, 10-minute recess, please. I mean,
Hey, BJ, how you doing?
Yeah, thanks.
Good. See you. Let me know if you need anything. Nancy's help. You can bring up the. Just go through and
All right, folks. I think our 10-minute recess has completed. Okay, it's running now. Okay. Okay, so Councillor Carr has, okay. All right, over to Colin in response to Councillor Carr's question.
Great, thank you. So in response to Councillor Carr's question, I have a list of items that are not funded based on the current motion. And just to note that, so everything that is in the motion is things that the board has approved to be funded, but just noting the items that were on the board approved list but are not funded in the current motion. We have 1.4 million related to protests and demonstrations. And just to note for that one, that that one is one where we can continue to follow the practice we have followed of using city contingency in the event that there's an outsized number of protests and demonstrations that continues into next year. The next item on the list that's not funded, Restore Facilities Capital Fund at 1.1 million. Then we have Vancouver Police Board support costs of 738,000 is not included. Or sorry, 793,000 is not included. And then we have equipment and ammunition, 300,000. Recruiting online applications, 300,000. Statutory holiday deployment, 625,000. Civilian salary increases, 116,000 for premium duties is currently not funded, and salary premiums and payouts of 757,000, and funding for position reclassifications of 196,000. So that completes the list, and again, all the other items are included currently, including the funding for the Enterprise Risk Management Program, funding for body-worn cameras, funding for rapid DNA downloaded costs, funding for and funding for the police board budget. So those are the items that are noted. So that provides a comprehensive list in terms of should council approve this motion, what the police board would have to consider in terms of their decision to accept council's approval.
Okay, thanks, Colin. Councillor Carr, you've gone over time. Yeah. Okay. Councillor Montague.
Yeah, I think I can just ask a question here that will hopefully clarify things and maybe get to Councillor Carr's questions and answers very succinctly. Is question to the board or the VPD basically is, are they in favor of the funding as it's outlined in the amendment? And that might answer all the questions.
So that's a question to the chair of the board, or
either the chair of the board or
is Frank Chong?
See Frank's in the back there.
Sure.
Hi, good morning. I've had a number of conversations with a number of different people, including our finance committee chair at the Vancouver Police Board. We have looked over some of these amendments. Certainly our priorities were the body-worn cameras for this year. As I stated a couple weeks back, that the body-worn cameras was the priority and that we would be prepared to make concessions in other areas. And I think the items here listed are reasonable. The Finance Committee Chair was also comfortable, and that would be the recommendation that we would bring back to the Police Board.
Yeah, perfect. I appreciate that answer, Frank. That's all I've got. I think that clarifies, hopefully, everything for everybody.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Montague. Oh. Okay, I just flipped over to Mayor Sim. Okay, seeing no further questions on the queue, we can move to an amendment vote. Councillor Bly, can you turn on your camera, please?
My camera is on.
Thank you. Okay, and that passes with none opposed. All right, back to you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kirby-Young.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I also have an amendment to propose if staff want to take us, or if you want to take us to amendment queue. And I've circulated. Thanks. I've circulated this to all of council. No secret to anybody that we're working through a process with respects to the Vancouver Park Board and what its future looks like. In the interim, I think we recently received the Park Board update report on the transition. Can't remember, it was a week ago, feels like longer, but 2 weeks ago, that really identified that there was a number of areas of duplication and opportunities for efficiencies and savings with the Vancouver Park Board in a lot of specific areas, such as festivals and special events, as well as others, particularly social policy and so forth. I'd also note that throughout this process, I believe it was the chair of the Park Board that brought a motion forward around establishing better governance and looking at how the Park Board could be more effective and efficient. And so in that spirit, and hearing the requests that came forward from the Park Board for an additional $900,000 for washroom cleanliness, and I think we heard that our standard was something like moderately dingy, which is a little appalling, although that might be kind of the terminology and the standards that's used, but it's certainly not inspiring, I think, to residents of the city, and nor should it be to the two elected bodies. And so if we have collectively all identified that we want to do things better, and that we have the opportunity to do that through being more effective in how we operate and reduce some of the duplication and work better together, and that we also want to prioritize washroom cleanliness, that the intention of this amendment is to provide a path forward to that. And so I'll read it out. And it says that council endorsed the Park Board to reallocate $900,000 of its operating budget through reducing duplication in areas such as FASE, which stands for Festivals and Special Events, and Arts, Culture, and Social Policy by approving integration of these operations with city operations. And that should the Park Board decide to proceed with the resolution above, that city staff be directed to support this integration as quickly as is feasible to enable the savings to be directed towards enhanced washroom cleanliness. And that is the amendment on the floor.
Great. Can we please have a seconder? Great. Councillor Montague, thank you very much. Is there any discussion? And Councillor Carr.
Yeah, sorry, I think my timer should be reset if this is another
Can we
amendment.
please reset Councillor Carr's timer? Thank you.
Yeah, through you, Chair, if I could ask a point of information to the mover of the amendment. It appears to me that maybe there's a word missing in this motion. I mean, that councillor endorsed the Park Board. When are we endorsing a Park Board decision? Have they decided to reallocate $900,000? And if so, I would appreciate having made that clear in the motion. So just need to know, did they make a decision to do that?
Sorry if I can answer that question through you, Mayor. No, I think the intention here, and if there's some wordsmithing for clarity, happy to entertain that, Councillor Carr. But the intention is that we're encouraging the Park Board to pursue that, and we would endorse them pursuing that direction. And of course, it's their decision, which is why it says endorse, because they are a separate elected body, so we can't require that.
Well, endorse sounds like it's already happened, so if it's encourage, then it makes sense to me. But otherwise, I didn't know that they had reallocated any money yet, so I'm at odds about voting for it unless there's clarity around that word endorse being replaced to encourage.
So just so we're clear, Councillor Carr, are you proposing an amendment to the amendment, or are you just making a comment?
It could be a friendly, but I haven't.
If I might, through you, Chair, looking at the official definition of endorse says declare one's support, so we would support them pursuing that direction, I think is the intention, but if a word makes a difference, I think the substance is pretty clear, so I'll leave that up to the councillor. Thank you.
Councillor Carr?
Sorry,
you want-
yes, I'm just in the process here, sorry. Oh, you can take me off for now.
I'll take you off,
Thank
okay.
you.
And you can come back on,
Thank
obviously.
you.
Councillor Fry?
So obviously I want to see us improve the washroom standards beyond moderately dingy. Mayor, I'm wondering, I'm a little confused about the reducing duplication and what that means. So I'm wondering, Mayor, if I may, through you, ask of Steve Jackson, who I sees here, and just what does that actually look like? Reducing duplication in areas such as phase, arts, culture, and social policy, integrating them with city operations. Is that something that, what does that even look like?
Thanks, Councillor. Steve Jackson, General Manager of the Board of Parks and Recreation. So at this point in time, I don't know that I have an answer for you on that. We haven't been engaged in any of the conversations around governance transition and opportunities or situations where there's duplication. I don't have much more to offer there. I think I would defer maybe to Sandra if there's comments from the transition team, but I don't have anything to add.
So really, in the absence of any kind of transitional plan, this would just be taking $900,000 out of arts and culture in the parks and social policy and that kind of thing?
I mean, I think given this speaks to duplication, I imagine there is an implied cost savings here, but again, without having done any analysis on what the duplication actually is from our perspective, I'm not in a position to comment.
Okay, I do see Sandra saying if I... Thanks. Yeah, please.
Thank you for the question, Sandra Singh, one of the deputy city managers here. Yes, Councillor, as you may recall from our recent update to Council, we've done that high-level analysis of some of the areas where we've identified that there are duplicate functions in the park board relative to the city, and had identified phase, arts, culture, and social policy, as well as a number of areas where we saw opportunity to deduplicate those functions, reassign staff, and accrue some savings that could be reinvested in public service or other priorities. This potentially could be one public service priority for reinvestment.
Is that a timely consideration, or are we just...
If were the park board to make a decision to seek to integrate these functions and council to endorse the reinvestment of that 900,000 in washrooms as per their priority, we would prioritize the work to implement that integration. It would take a few months to do, of course. I don't have the exact, we're not at the point to map out the project, but we could do it.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Carr?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Although I have trouble with that word endorse, it's not, I realize, important to me to make the change in the actual language to make it clearer from my perspective, or anybody else in the public who is a little confused by that word. In general, though, in hearing the answer of staff to Councillor Fry's comment, I'm not supportive of this amendment, and I'm not supportive of it because it seems like we're putting the cart before the horse. The horse is, the fact that we have a park board. It is a legal entity with its own programs. There's been no decision yet on the part of the province to move forward with that change, and so until that happens, I think the dropping of programs and operations that the park board is doing, in my mind, as I say, is putting the cart before the horse. It does not make sense to me, and so I won't be supporting.
Thank you much. Councillor Kirby-Young?
Yeah, thanks. Just to close on the amendment and just provide, I think what the salient point is here, and again, the context was the November 27th staff report on the Parks and Recreation Governance Transition Planning Progress Update. That identified, as was mentioned by our general manager earlier, areas of operational duplication arising from the dual governance system that could save in the order of $1.5 to $3 million per year in operating costs. But I think the really salient point here is that by inviting the park board to work together with us, we can actually improve public services without further cost to the taxpayers and having taxes go up. So if we have a gap and we need to clean our washrooms better, which is a pretty basic expectation, and I think something that the residents of Vancouver should expect in all their facilities, the park board has the opportunity to work with us now and move forward with deduplicating some of those areas of work and putting the money into the frontline services that are really valued, again, without further cost to taxpayers and without increasing taxes. So that is the context, just to provide a little bit more background. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Seeing no one else in the queue, why don't we put Councillor Kirby-Young's amendment to a vote? And the amendment passes with Councillors Carr and Fry in opposition. Going back to the main queue, Councillor Kirby-Young.
That's all. Thank you.
Councillor Clausen.
Thank you, Mayor. I presume I don't see any other amendments forthcoming, so I'll just make my final remarks with regards to this budget and the budget process. We've already heard about some of the successes here, and last week we had a really, I thought, excellent overview of some of the work that has been happening over the last term. Of course, this began with a strategic framework, the first of its kind that was created by this council, the Vibrant Vancouver plan for 2023 to 2026. And it really has been a way for us to guide us in terms of the priorities of this council. And I really want to reflect upon some of the things that have come from that with the time that I have, including in the area of vibrancy, the incredible work that happened this year with regards to major events, 27 significant events in 2023. And of course, just this last year has been amazing with, I guess, the icing on the cake being the Taylor Swift Eras Tour concerts here, and incredible work that was done by VPD, Fire, and city staff to really get that going. We've seen improvements in our plazas. That's been a noticeable change to really enhance the public realm. The pedestrianization pilot in Gastown and Maple Tree Square, Chinatown revitalization with $2 million annually in safety and graffiti removal. In terms of housing growth, incredible to think that we have had rental housing starts have doubled since 2022. We now have, with the multiplex program, an unexpected response to that with approximately 1,000 new homes that are going to be built under that new plan that this council approved. Broadway plan has about 20,000 rental units and homes in the pipeline currently. In terms of homelessness, we've been able to support 4,400 individuals annually through our outreach programs. In terms of the kind of work we're doing in streamlining our permitting process, that's yielded some really significant results, including simple renovation permits being issued within 3 days on average, and sprinkler permits, which I used to hear all the time about, now are usually processed within 24 hours. That's impressive work. 85% reduction in business licensing processing times, most issued within a week, which is incredible. This council supported the work of our finance team on initiating the DPRP, which is a way for us to reduce property taxes, and that's resulted in $6 million in property tax relief among many deserving businesses. We streamlined liquor licensing and optimized industrial land use policies. We have a fully funded police and fire department for the first time in over a decade. We have a body-worn camera program that's coming. We have the PFAS-free turnout gear for our firefighters. This is one of the most important, significant votes that this council made in this term. In terms of climate action, we've got climate-friendly zoning changes for walkable communities, reduced GHG emissions in commercial buildings, and parking minimums have been eliminated. We see the great rainwater management programs. I'm always looking for an excuse to mention the country lanes, but the St. George Rainway is an incredible project, and there's a lot of work going on in that area. In terms of social services and accessibility, we had $73 million invested in social and cultural programs. We are the first municipal jurisdiction to adopt an UNDRIP, United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples program with a 5-year action plan, which is incredible. $4.2 million invested in Indigenous social and cultural programs. We have a new dedicated resource for older adults for the first time, supporting our seniors in our community. We've been able to rebuild our contingency fund post-COVID, which was basically drained during that time period. We've been able to maintain a AAA credit rating and restored reserve funds, as I mentioned, and also generated $25 million in new non-tax revenue. And we are also leveraging artificial intelligence, digital systems, and reducing costs through those tools. All is to say that we're halfway through this term of council, and I'm incredibly impressed. We were, when we began, it was a very, very challenging budget. The numbers were very hard to take. We had to restore services, but we're now got our arms around this, and thanks to the Mayor's Office, Mayor's Budget Task Force, all of our staff and the council, I think we're going in the right direction here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Claassen. I don't have to see the chair, do I? Oh, I do. Sorry. I'll get that figured out one day. Right. Thank you. I just want to give a round of thank yous. And Colin, first budget. Good job. Absolutely amazing. No, I just want to thank, I'm pretty much going to thank everyone in the room. So if I miss you because I'm going to run out of time, I totally apologize. First of all, Colin, once again, you and your team, absolutely amazing job. I know you guys have been working on this for quite a while with all the different groups. Paul, you and your team, absolutely amazing. And just to give people context, when we approached this at the beginning of the year, there was a 9% number floating out there, then a 7%, then a 5.5, and we're coming in at 2.9 plus 1. And the mountains that you guys had to move, absolutely amazing. To Vancouver Fire and Rescue, to the VPD, and to the unions, thank you. I can't stress enough. People talk about partnerships. This truly is a partnership between the city and the groups and the unions. And special shout out to the unions. You really do take care of your members, and it's the right thing to do. And working with the city and working with VPD and Vancouver Fire and Rescue, it's absolutely incredible. And looking forward to that relationship going forward. To Steve, you and your team, thanks for being great partners. What you do is absolutely incredible. Now, obviously, I missed a lot of groups. We could literally go group by group by group. And unfortunately, we don't have time, but just want to express the gratitude, not only as mayor and council, but as a resident of Vancouver. He loves the city and realizes that we have to build something sustainable. We have to take care of our people, and we want to take care of our people. We also want to take care of the city, and this budget really does achieve both. As it's been mentioned in this chamber quite a few times, this was achieved without service cuts, and it also included, provisions to take care of our people. As we know, we have members that keep us safe every single day that we're putting on suits that cause cancer, and we're able to, fund, uniforms that don't do that as part of this. So this is really, it's a very pragmatic budget that actually takes care of our people, and we're really proud of it. And that comes through the work of all of us collectively. And so just a big thank you. I think it's a great day for the city of Vancouver and all the residents and all the people that choose to work at the city of Vancouver every single day. So with that, We love you. Thank you very much. Councillor Carr, I'm sorry. Can I get the chair back? Thank you. Councillor Carr.
Yes, thank you. I just would like, Mayor, if you would ensure we get a outline of the amendments with the budget so that because I will plan to sever some of them items, and I'd like to have that information. I'm not sure if that takes a break or whatever, but just for my own clarity.
That is a great segue. Seeing no one else in the queue, we've been told that we should provide for a 10-minute recess as we collect all the notes and do exactly as Councillor Carr recommended. So with that, seeing no one else in the queue, let's take a 10-minute recess. Okay. 2, 3, 4. Okay, bylaw. Sec. Give me one. Councillor Dominato. Oh, she's not here, is she? No. Okay, perfect. And myself, I've not reviewed, so I will not be voting on the bylaw. Bylaw 29 was from the public hearing on April the 14th, 19th, and 21st, 2022. Councillors Bly and Boyle were absent for this item at the public hearing, and Councillors Klassen, Meisner, Montague, Joe, and myself were not on council at the time of the public hearing. And I don't think we have Councillor Bly on the line yet. So Councillor Klassen, have you reviewed the proceedings and will you be voting on the enactment?
I have and I will.
Councillor Meisner? Councillor Montague?
I have and I will.
Councillor Joe? Great, and I have not and I will not. Bylaw 31 was from the public hearing on November the 16th, 2023. Councillors Fry, Kirby-Young, Meisner, and myself were absent for this item at the public hearing. Councillor Fry, have you reviewed the proceedings and will you be voting on the enactment? Great. Councillor Kirby-Young? Great. Councillor Meisner? Great. And myself, I have not and I will not. Bylaw number 32 was from the public hearing on July the 5th, 21st and 26th of 2022. Councillors Bly and Kirby-Young were absent for this item at public hearing. Councillors Klassen, Meisner, Montague, Joe, and myself were not on council at the time of the public hearing. Is Councillor Bly back online? No. Okay. Councillor Kirby-Young, have you reviewed the proceedings and will you be voting on the enactment? Great. Councillor Klassen? Councillor Meisner? Councillor Montague?
I have and I will.
Councillor Joe? Great. And myself, I have not and I will not. Bylaw 33 was from the public hearing on June the 14th, 2022. Councillors Klassen, Meisner, Montague, Joe, and myself were not on council at the time of the public hearing. Councillor Klassen, have you reviewed the proceedings and will you be voting on the enactment? Councillor Meisner? Councillor Montague?
I have, I will.
Councillor Joe? Great, and I have not, I will not. I would like to note that bylaw 30 is subject to the approval of bylaw 29. We will need to vote on bylaw 29 separately. Would someone like to move a motion to adopt bylaw number 29? Councillor Kirby-Young, thank you. Seconded by, I think it was Councillor Meisner got his hand up first. Council, is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great, the motion carries unanimously. Would someone like to move the motion to adopt bylaws 1 through 28 and 30 through 44? Councillor Joe, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Montague. Councillor, is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great, the motion carries unanimously. The list of approved bylaws can be found on the city's website. So are we ready to go or no? Okay. Administrative motions. Number 1, Resolution 2511 Carolina Street, closure of portions of street for heritage encroachments. Before we begin this agenda item, if anyone believes they have a conflict of interest, now is the time to declare it. Does anybody have a conflict of interest? Great. Council, are there any questions for team members? No. Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Montague, seconded by Councillor Meisner. Council, is there any discussion? Great. All those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great. The motion carries unanimously. Approval of form of development, 377 Semlin Drive. Before we begin this agenda item, if anyone believes that they are in a conflict of interest, now is the time to declare it. Does anyone wish to declare a conflict? Great. Council, are there any questions to team members? Would someone like to move a motion? Great. Councillor Joe, seconded by Councillor Kirby-Young. Council, is there any discussion? Okay. All those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great. The motion carries unanimously. Number 3, approval of form of development, 2055 East Broadway. Before we begin the agenda item, does anyone wish to declare a conflict? Seeing none. Council, are there any questions to team members? No. Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Montague, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Meisner, thank you. Council, is there any discussion? Great. All those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great. The motion carries unanimously. Number
Mayor?
4, approval of.
Sorry to interrupt. It's Councillor Bly.
Hey, Councillor Bly.
And yeah, so I had, I guess, an audio issue here. I've been waiting since the recess took quite a long time, and realized just that you're on form of development, which meant I missed the budget vote. I've been
Oh, no,
online.
you haven't missed the budget vote. We just
Oh,
varied
okay.
the agenda.
Got it.
We
Thank you very much.
definitely would not have missed you on that one. So,
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay.
so just to let you know where we are on number 4 for approval of form of development 1755 Ontario Street. So we're good? Okay, thank you. Before we begin this agenda item, does anybody wish to declare a conflict of interest? Seeing none. Council, are there any questions to our team members? Okay, would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Clausen, thank you. Seconded Councillor Montague. Council, is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. The motion carries unanimously. Clerk Kirby, do you need a few minutes still, or? We're ready to go? Okay, so why don't should we do the budget now and then we'll go? Great. Thank you very much. Okay, so we will go back to 1F as amended, and I'm assuming, yeah, we're gonna, I'm assuming Councillor Carr will get on the queue to, that's good. We're going back to the report 1F as amended. We're gonna vote on it, and
Sorry, thank you. Mayor, if you could sever 1FA subsection D.
okay. That's the only one?
Nope, that's one. And K separate the further that in K.
So K, further that.
Yes.
So the first paragraph is fine.
Yes.
The second paragraph you'd like to sever. Okay.
Oh, sorry. What I really want to separate is the that rather than further that. I want a separate vote on the first part of K.
Okay, so the opposite. So
Right.
So we'll sever K paragraph 1. We will leave
Right.
K second paragraph
It can be part of the rest.
part of the rest. Okay, thank you. Councillor Fry, did you want to sever something else, or?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to sever 1FA, subarticle D, subarticle I.
Well, okay. Just so we're clear then, so 1FAD,
Okay,
in
actually-
its entirety is severed.
Okay, all
You're
right.
fine?
And then K.
Okay, so we're fine on the first severing, so we're gonna follow Councillor Carr's lead. And then on K, you want to sever the whole thing as opposed to. So what you're saying is we're gonna have 2 votes, 2 severings of K, like the first paragraph and then the second paragraph. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Just so we're clear, there's going to be 4 votes. We're going to sever 1FAD, so all of that. The second vote will be on K, the first paragraph. The third vote will be K, the second paragraph. And then we're going to vote on the remainder.
Yeah.
It's clear as mud? Awesome, great. Did we get that? Does that make sense? Okay, so if we can please go to the voting panel and we will vote on 1FA subparagraph D. Are we all ready? Is everyone, we're good? Okay. And Councillor Bly, do you need a vote assist?
I have my voting panel up, but it is not bringing up the vote. So yes, I'll have a vote assisted in favor and restart my my X panel here. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So 1FD, 1FAD passes with Councillors Carr and Fry abstaining. So the next item we're going to vote on is paragraph K, the first paragraph that starts with that council endorse. Councillor Meisner. Right. And that passes with Councillors Carr and Fry in opposition. Next, we will vote on paragraph K, the second paragraph that starts with further that. Councillor Klassen. Great. And that passes with Councillor Fry abstaining. And now we're going to vote on the rest of the motion. Great. And that passes unanimously. Great job, everyone. Thank you very much. Councillor Kirby-Young.
Yeah, are we now into notices of motion?
Sorry.
We're now into notice of council member motions, correct?
Yes, we are.
Okay, I have one, and it is entitled Effective Water Use in the City of Vancouver, submitted by myself for the January 22nd, 2025 Standing Committee meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just for everyone else, are there any notices of council member motions for the upcoming coming standing committee meeting? Reminder to please state the title of the motion and the date of the standing committee meeting on which you intend to move the motion, and be sure to send the title and date of the standing committee meeting via email to the city clerk. Anyone else? No? Okay. Is
I have
this
one-
for notice of council member motions or this new business?
It's a point of procedure. I'm just wondering if we're, when we're reconvening and in camera, if we could have an hour and reconvene at 1:15? I'm just wondering if we can reconvene in camera at 1:15 and have an hour?
Probably 1:15. We'll just get through this.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Okay. I'll just advance. So new business, we have one item of new business on the agenda today, requests for leaves of absence. This motion has been circulated to council at the beginning of the meeting and is available on the screen. It will be available on the screen. We have it on, and it's almost there. Great. Okay. So if everyone can review that, would someone like to move the motion? Councillor Klassen, seconded by Councillor Meisner. Council, is there any discussion? All those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great. The motion carries unanimously. Council, are there any other items of new business? Okay. Seeing none. Council, are there any inquiries or other matters that you want to discuss? Okay. So seeing none. motion to adjourn, Councillor Kirby-Young, seconded by Councillor Claassen. All those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great, this meeting is adjourned, and we will reconvene in camera at 1:15. All right. Great work, everyone.